Good evening, folks. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's been well over a year since I created any content on Sorare. I think it's fair to say that I become very disillusioned with the platform. I was also highly critical of Sorare on certain platforms, justifiably so, in my opinion. However, where credit is due, I will also give that credit out. And I have to say, the latest update from Sorare has me intrigued and excited about getting back onto the platform properly. In my opinion, this update has pushed Sorare back in its rightful place to potentially the best fantasy football platform that's out there. I remember back in the days in 2020 when I first joined, I used to love putting my teams together, competing for thresholds, etc. And there was nothing quite like it, quite frankly. Now, the biggest mistake that Sorare made, in my opinion, was removing thresholds. I think it alienated a lot of the users because not every user has thousands to throw at the game. And in terms of thresholds, it gave everyone an opportunity, regardless of budget, to try and compete and be successful in winning things on the game. Once they removed the thresholds, I, like most users on a restricted budget, didn't feel that we could compete with galleries that were 10, 15, 20 times bigger than ours. So the fun element started to drift away. However, the inclusion of this hot streaks, which is theoretically bringing the thresholds back in slightly a different or format, I believe is Sorare's best update that they've made since removing the thresholds in the first place. What I particularly like about the hot streaks, obviously in-season cards are required, so it requires the user to keep buying players, so the platform is far more sustainable. Gone are the days where you could put a threshold team like I did for like 30 quid, and at the all-time high of Ethereum, I was winning almost 100 quid every game week, and there was no real need for me to buy any more players because that's all I was playing for. Like I said, under this current format, because you need current season players, you will always need to keep buying players for new seasons, injuries, suspensions, etc. So this is why I'm very excited about Sorare, because I can see the sustainability of the platform going forward. Now, the purpose of me creating this video, although my financial circumstances have changed dramatically since I was last, or when I first joined Sorare, where I didn't really have a pot to piss in, I will not be throwing thousands of pounds into this game. I'll be doing a few hundred quid. But the thing I really loved about Sorare was getting a team relatively cheap and trying to compete and win rewards with that team. And that's exactly what I'm going to try and do on the hot streaks. I'm trying to form a team for each league that hot streaks apply to. So that will be the five major tournaments in Europe, the Premier League, League One, and the rest of the others. Then also the Challenger, Contender, Eredivisie, Jupiler, etc. However, like I said, I'm going to try and do this on a budget. And although my priorities have changed since last being really active on Sorare, making money is not the main aim. The aim is to make or have as much fun as I possibly can. Any winnings I can get from the hot streaks, then that's an absolute bonus. But like I said, I just enjoy the challenge of not buying the best players, which I could do ultimately, but I don't want to, because in my opinion, there's better ways to generate money from investing than Sorare. So that I'm treating this purely as a game, but I just love the challenge of creating a relatively cheap team and trying to beat the game. So I'm just going to show you some of the teams I've put together, or give the reasonings behind some of the choices I've made. Like I said, please don't be watching this thinking I'm some sort of expert, because I'm certainly not. I'm just trying to put a team or teams together that I think that could have a potential to hit some hot streaks from time to time. So I'm just going to run through some of the lineups I've made for next weekend, which is the start of the Premier League and all the other leagues, barring Serie A and I believe the Bundesliga. They will join the following week. Some of these teams will be subject to change because obviously injuries could still happen. We're still 5 days away from the league kicking off. So I just want to give you a flavour and some sort of idea what I'm looking at. And I'll just give you a cost of each team. Now, here's my Premier League team for next weekend. This will change because I don't want three Leeds players in it because I want the 2% bonus of only having two players. So Goodmanson will come out, and I'm trying to get in Nikola Milenkovic from Forest as my other defender so I can pair him with the goalie because I think they've got a good fixture at home to Brentford. My midfield choice is James Ward-Prowse. Although it's a tough opening fixture away to newly promoted Sunderland, Prowse will be, in my opinion, West Ham's set piece taker. So my hope is that he will either assist or score from a free kick. And my forward line, and it's purely my heart ruling my head, I've gone for two Leeds boys, Nonto and Dan James. It's a very tricky fixture at home to Everton under Moyes because Moyes is normally very tight at the back. I can't see him conceding many, but the hope is Leeds will nick a goal or two, and Nonto and James will be involved in the goals. Hopefully, one assisting, one scoring. As you can see, you're allowed to use one out of season card, which I've done with the goalkeepers on most of the teams, because although I don't agree that that is the way to go forward at all costs, it is when you put in a budget team. For example, if money was no object, I would have, I don't know, Cole, and I mean Cole Palmer as possibly the outer season card because I think his in season card is about 150 quid, something like that. So I think if that was your plan, you would then possibly be better off getting an in season goalkeeper and using an outer season in the outfield positions. But like I said, these are budget teams, so this is the way I'm playing it where I'm using an out of season goalkeeper. If I can get Milenkovic in from Forest, then this team would roughly cost just under £70. And the hope is that it can win a few streaks, especially at the start of the season, because the promotion's so rare a run in where they're 5 times for the first 5 weeks. However, like I said from the outset, my priority is to get back to enjoying the platform that I fell in love with 5 years ago, more so than winning money. Now, I'm not going to go through a detailed description on every team that I've picked, but here's my League One or League Un in France team. This is the only exception I've made where I've stacked the team and I've stacked four outfield players because they all play for Monaco. Monaco are the second favourites behind PSG. I think they can have a really good season. They've got some really good fixtures to open with. And I've gone with, again, an out of season Nice goalkeeper who I believe have got a few decent fixtures as well. And that team there was put together just under £64. My La Liga team is a bit of a punt more than all of them, I would think. This team come in at just under £37. I've got two Athletic Club players at the back. I've got two Villarreal players up top or midfield and a striker. And I'm not 100% sure Gazaniga will start in goals. So that could be subject to change. But like I said, that team was put together for just, I think it's just under 37 quid, I believe. Now, the Jupiler League, I've just put one together. Again, I've hardly spent a huge amount of money on this. It came in at under 40 quid. As you can see, the players, STVV, have got some really good opening fixtures or a few good upcoming fixtures. That's why I've gone with two of those players. I've got a Club Bruges centre half. I've got a Genk who've started disappointingly, and I believe they will get better. I've got their forwards, and I've got Antwerp's keeper. So quite confident with that team for what I've paid for it, that it'll pay for itself over the season. And finally, the Eredivisie. I've gone for a very risky pairing. I've got 20s goalkeeper and a striker, and they're home to PSV. So I don't hold much hope from this game week in particular. Davy Klaassen, the Ajax captain, even though Ajax are not as the team that they once were, I still think Davy Klaassen's going to play a major part in their season. The AZ centre half, a young lad, Wouter Goos, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and also a young midfielder for Utrecht, Alonso Nguanda. That team was also put together for about 37 quid. Now, obviously, Serie A and the Bundesliga follow the week after, so I'm going to try and get teams in for them. I'm also going to try and get a champion, challenger, and contender in season because, like I said, I want to enjoy this platform like I used to 4 years ago. And by bringing as many teams as I possibly can, I love the thrill of putting teams together, submitting your teams every week, etc. And I think Sorare is getting back to the platform that I genuinely believe that it could become. It stagnated for 2 years, in my opinion, but hopefully now this is the way going forward. And ultimately, as long as I'm having fun and enjoyment from the game, that's all I care about, quite frankly. I've got all out of season cards from the cards that I've held forever, it feels like. So they will be going into the All Star and the under 23. So I've got so many teams that I'm going to be putting together most game weeks. I think it's going to be a really fun year ahead or season, and I can't wait. In all honesty, I'm really excited because, like I said, this is going back to the so rare that I used to love playing. I've spoken to loads of people who are in a same mindset as me. They can't wait for the season to start, and that's what it's all about. So hats off for So Rare for getting this right. My only concern would be they keep changing the goalposts like they seem to be, or they got a habit in doing so. Please don't keep changing it. You've got to let players able to plan ahead accordingly and not changing everything every few months, etc. And if they can do that and keep it relatively similar, then I think it's a potential winner. So, anyway, guys, if you are going ahead and rejoining or you're starting, and especially this weekend, if you're going to go for the hot streaks in the big leagues, then best of luck. And I'll see you very shortly. And thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Cheers, guys.